Well, I actually started off great this morning. I got up about a little before 8 with the baby, and he was awake for a good hour and a half. So while I kept him entertained, and he likes looking out the window and that kind of thing, my daughter got up. She likes the alone time with me, and sometimes she has to share it with Rylan, but she does well. And I mean that was fine. I've been putting out some Twitter stuff today about that, about how it was a great time, being a dad with them. They're both cool. I had them looking out the window together. She loves playing with him, trying to take care of him. She's a little mama, And then my son got up. My oldest son got up, and he was cool. Everything was going fine. It was a good day. I slept pretty good last night. Had my cup of coffee before work. It was a good way to start the day. But then when their mother gets up, and I'm up here at work, I'm upstairs working, and their mom gets up, and I don't know exactly what happened, but the baby was sleeping, and my oldest son, for some reason, just randomly brought a toy out of his room that it's not even a toy, it's a seat to this little play school vanity thing, and for randomly just starts kicking it, and he hits the wall where the baby's sleeping. Now, it's my house, so I'm not super worried about, the baby. Oh my God, you woke the baby, because we're loud all the time. Our kids get used to that. They sleep through pretty much everything, which is very much a plus right now, because being up and down with the new baby at night, and sometimes he's not happy, he's screaming. They never hear him, so it's a good thing. But it's the principle of it. They've been told. My wife is very particular about the walls in the house. She hates when people hit them for any reason. She hates when, they're not allowed to ride play with their cars and that kind of thing on the wall. They're not allowed to do that. And then it's the principle of it is somebody's sleeping, and that's something we stress to them. My son and daughter share a room right now, and when one gets up, they're told you don't mess with the other kid. It's not right. Sleeping is essential in our house, because if you don't get enough sleep, then obviously it makes things worse. So we respect when somebody's sleeping. I don't know. Anyway, so he did that. Then my daughter was deciding to ignore him. He had asked her a question, and she just would not acknowledge his existence, and that made for some issues, right? And so my wife went off on him. There's been stuff leading up to today, just building up with little things here and there. And I know the standard answer is going to be, what's the new baby? And maybe that's the only answer. I don't know. But they did a lot of this before there was a baby, too. So, and my wife and I have worked really, really hard not to do. There's a commercial on TV now where there are two dads in a park, and they each have a little baby strapped to their chest, and the mama, vest, whatever. And an older kid comes up to the one dad, and they're talking to each other. The dads are, and dad, not now, Billy. Dad, not now. Which I'm like, that's a horrible fucking dad. Take 2 seconds to see what your kid needs. Now, I don't let my kid just come and talk. I'll tell him, give me just a second. I'll finish my sentence. We'll finish the sentence, and then I'll address him. What can I do for you? How can that be? But because we're teaching them respect, not just to interrupt. But you don't do the whole not now. So we've worked really hard with my kids, with our kids, in this situation with the baby, because when Oakland was a baby, he was 18 months old when his sister was born, so he's still not old enough to kind of get the whole jealousy thing. I'm sure he got a little bit, but not the whole. He wasn't old enough to act out. You know what I'm saying? Now they're 6 and 5, and we had a baby, so we knew it was going to be a different situation. And they've been really good. I've had heart-to-heart talks. We've given them one-on-one time. We try to really make it, as best we can, a seamless integration. But today, man, they're getting messy, and they're getting bad. It's nice weather. It's the 2nd or 3rd of December. It's early in December, and it's shorts weather outside right now. I don't know the exact temperature, but it's warm enough. And so the kids get to go out in the backyard. We have a nice fence. That's what we built the house for. We built the fence when we moved in, and we didn't even have kids, so that they could go play in the backyard. And there's one rule: you don't leave the yard. And recently, our neighbor has what I wanted in my backyard that my builder was a fuck stick and wouldn't do, is a lot of rocks to climb on, safely climb on, and basically a little rock playground without running the risk of cracking your skull open. And he was nice enough the other day to tell the kids that they could come into his backyard and play. That brings a whole lot of things as a parent into consideration. you can presume that he's being nice, okay? We can presume that. I wouldn't presume that. I'm very paranoid. I mean, you don't know. I'm not accusing him of anything. You just don't know what people do these days. And I think these days is a bullshit saying, honestly. You never knew what they did back in the 50s or 40s or 1812. I mean, there's been evil shit since the beginning of time. So, he didn't come up and tell me. He didn't come knock on the door and say, hey, you know, I introduced himself. I mean, we waved at each other next door. Our end of this neighborhood, we all bought over here because we don't want to get in other people's lives. There's a neighbor across the street. The closest we met was, hey, that was it. When the neighbor moved in next door, we went, hey, that's it. Everybody's kind of friendly. We don't talk to each other. We don't go knocking on each other's doors. So I'm not faulting him, but as a parent, he didn't come to me and say, hey, your kids, are nice. I saw them in the backyard. I told them they can play in my yard. He just told a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old that they could play in his yard. So they did. And we're looking out the window going, where the fuck are our kids? So we had to sit down and explain to him, you can't leave the yard. You can't do that. It's bad. People will take you. Not necessarily him. I'm not saying him. We stress, we're not trying to say he's a bad person. But you can't leave the yard where we know you're safe, okay? Where we can see you. And they've done well, taking them over to the other backyard a few times. And I don't know. Just now my wife called me downstairs because after all of that and after everything they've been yelled at about today and threatened to get spankings, they had to get spanked and yelled at for that. For this particular incident, but they left the backyard just on their own. They left the backyard and went over to the neighbor's yard, which let the dogs in their backyard, which we keep them out so we don't have to clean up dog shit all the time. So there's not anyway. Kids are kids, but mine are making me rip my hair out today. It's like, what the hell? Because you know better. I mean, Oakland's my oldest. We talked about what it meant to be a big brother, and he's the one who led the charge. He's the one that decided to open the gate and said, let's go to the next yard. He knows better. And my daughter's just responsible because she knows she doesn't have to follow. We've stressed out all her life. If you made the decision to not do it, you wouldn't be in trouble. I don't know. I know there's those of you out there who have had multiple kids, different ages. If you've got any tips, I'd love to hear it. bearcrawling@gmail.com. You can respond back to the video here. I'll take any tips you have on parenting with a new baby. I'm doing the best I can. I'm not, I don't hate my kids. I'm not angry, obviously. But it's frustrating because how do you get that idea of safety of we don't hate you, we're trying to stop you from getting hurt because you can't realize the dangers without instilling just a fear of the world. I had a fear of the world growing up. I don't want to put that in my kids. But I don't want them going along thinking that you could just trust every stranger out there. I'm willing to take your ideas. Love to hear them. bearcrawling@gmail.com. Thank you. I got to find the stop button, so look over my shoulder. There we go.